Hi, this is Kerry Artek with Wicked Stocks bringing you the daily Tesla report for Friday, October 6th, 2023. Before we jump into the charts, as usual, just want to encourage you to please click like, share, subscribe to the Wicked Stocks YouTube channel, and check out wickedstocks.com, where we offer a full suite of both daily and weekly analytical videos, just like the Tesla report, daily analysis in the SPY and the Triple Q, that is the S&P 500 and NASDAQ 100 ETFs, weekly analysis in the S&P 500 index, the NASDAQ 100 index, and the long bond ETF, the TLT, as well as 2 individual stock picks a week that you never see on YouTube that cater to the 3 to 5 week swing trader out to the 3 to 5 month near-term investor, always looking for 20% moves on those stock picks. In fact, this week we put out 2, one on McDonald's, the other on UPS. Last week was NVIDIA, AMD. You can see all of it for free, actually. We offer a 5-day free trial up front. So you can sign up for wickedstocks.com and check everything out. If you don't like what you see after 5 days, then you can bow out at no cost to you whatsoever. On with the charts. Let's take a look at the big picture, work our way into the day itself. We came off of this channel top, presently at 321.93, never settled above it on a weekly basis. Having not done so, I'd mentioned how the channel base, presently at 237.66, should be considered in reach within a month or two. 6 weeks later, we tested it, rallied off of it nicely, fell back to it a couple of weeks ago. It remains our base of long-term support, above which the 290.09 channel top remains a 3 to 5 week objective. The 340.08 channel top remains a 3 to 5 month objective. Were we to close above 290.09 over the next 3 to 5 weeks, that 340.08 3 to 5 month target is then narrowed to within possibly as little as 3 to 5 more weeks, where we could top out on a quarterly basis. We could trade inside the 237.66 to 340.08 range, formation, channel structure, well into the first quarter of next year. If we were to close below 237.66, it would need to be on a weekly basis by a 1% margin, this week at 235.28. I don't see that happening. I don't think you do either. But if it were to occur, if we were to close below 237.66 by a 1% margin, then we have what I think would be probably a 3 to 5 week sell signal into this narrowing zone of meaningful support between 193.68 and 194.59 that also may well contain selling into the first quarter of next year, and we could come off of this area nicely. A settlement, though, below 193.68 would be a significant sell signal into Q1, Q2 of next year, and I'm not going to go there right now because it's not necessary. We are above 237.66. We are in a bull trend as defined off that January low. The sequences remain well defined. 290.09 likely now over the next 3 to 5 weeks. And in fact, it was just recently this week the settlement above the 251.55 descending channel top that set up a 2 to 3 week buy signal to 293.20. That is the same formation on the daily chart that we find in the weekly chart at 290.09. So I will go back to this structure here and kind of talk about the day itself. So I've got 256.25 as intraday support, above which 267.11 in reach. Intraday resistance, meaning both have pivot point qualities. If we break 256.25, nothing more than Thursday's low, which is also the pullback high over the last couple of weeks, if we break 256.25, we should actually test 251.55. Which is, and I'm going to look at this chart here, a part of a range, a narrow range, that is part of a rising 1.5 week channel bottom at 251.12. If we test this area today, we could come off of it nicely through next week, and above which, still anticipating the 293.20 formation over the next 2 to 3 weeks. So that is that. Let's go back to this chart for the day. If we push through 267.11, 271.55 in reach, where we can place a daily high. And if we settle today above 271.55, we could, by the end of next week, actually reach that 293.20 formation where we can top out into November trade. But getting back to the day itself, day traders can consider buying 256.25 and selling 267.11. If we push through 267.11, expect 271.55 where a daily high can be made. Simple trend line. If we close above 271.55, we remain in buy signal mode over the last few days above 251.55. We should reach this 293.20 2 to 3 week target, possibly within a full week of trade, where once again we can top out into November activity. Downside, once again, breaking or opening below 256.25 does signal the 251 handle, the 251.12 to 251.55 region. Where are you again? Are you here? Yes. Able to contain selling through next week. We can come off of this area nicely, but I will mention that if we close today below 251.12, we are back to retesting meaningful channel support that on the daily chart is at 240.01 today, and on the weekly chart, 237.66, rising next week into the 240s, I suspect, because the daily chart is already there at 240.01. So we're not going to see this area today, 240.01, but I will mention that if we close today below 251.12, we should see it within a few days, where once again, we can bottom out into November trade, quite possibly through the balance of the year, and above which 290.09 remains a 3 to 5 week target. To the 340.08 formation over the next 3 to 5 months. This 290.09 formation is considered more of a 2 to 3 week target now, following the recent buy signal above this descending channel structure at 251.55. And if we close today above 271.55, we should within a week, two at the most, reach 293.20. So that kind of spells it out pretty well. All the minor points in here have been carefully chosen. I've seen some mentions on YouTube about a head and shoulders development. And yes, there is a rough head and shoulders here. I like to see that at the high end of a move, but I'm not going to negate what you're seeing. I will say, and this is probably the last thing I'm going to say, is 262.02. If you take it, the high from September against the recent low from a week and a half ago, that's the late September low, 5/8 back up is 262.02. We've yet to close above it, and if you want to ignore 267.11 and 271.55, and if I'm just talking about that head and shoulders development, if we close today above this minor point at 262.02, that does negate the head and shoulders development, which is in itself a sign of strength. But I'm expecting strength anyway, not only because we've been testing over the last week or two 237.66 long-term support, but also because we did settle a couple of days ago above 251.55. So I'm expecting bullish continuation anyway. But for those of you who are looking at this head and shoulders development, I will say that closing above this minor point at 262.02 negates the head and shoulders, which in itself is a sign of strength as well. But in terms of strength, say through next week, that would come with a settlement today above 271.55. Oops. And I am going to leave it at that. There's really not much else to say. I'll be back Sunday afternoon with Monday's Tesla. Please click like, share, subscribe, and check out wickedstocks.com. You have a great weekend.